You're listening to Ride Rehab on wdwnt.com. And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to the podcast Walt wants to put into seasonal operation, Ride Rehab, the wdwnt show of ridiculously reskinning rides at Walt Disney World. I'm Tyler Mann.
And I'm Thomas Kiernan.
And I'm Jack from Theme Park History.
Sorry, we're not used to people hiding out with us. Normally, we're on the run from Disney, which is why we're recording this episode from Steven Tyler's private Walt Disney World dressing room.
Yeah, it sure smells, musky in here. Jack, what brings you to our little hidey hole?
Well, it's funny that I'm running into you guys here, because I'm on the run as well, but not from Walt Disney, actually from Steven Tyler.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he's been bugging me a lot to make a video about the Rock and Roller Coaster, and I'm just not ready to do it. But he won't stop calling me. He knows where I live now. I don't know how he has this information. So I figured the last place he would look is actually here in what looks like his abandoned dressing room. He hasn't been here in a while. I wouldn't touch anything, though.
Yeah.
You never know what might be lurking around here.
Yes, everything's covered in a fine layer of, alcohol smell. Okay, well, since we're all here, we may as well talk about Rock and Roller Coaster here at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Jack, since you're the theme park historian, why don't you give our listeners a very brief history of this attraction before we start rehabbing it?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, the Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith opened on July 29th, 1999. For those who don't know, it's actually a roller coaster, a launch roller coaster. I think the only one at Walt Disney World at the moment. And it's actually made by Vekoma, who's the same company who was behind the Expedition Everest roller coaster.
Oh,
so there's a pretty good track record for that, I would say. So for this attraction, it actually dates back all the way to the expansion of Sunset Boulevard for Disney Hollywood Studios back in 1993-94. The plan was to actually open this attraction with the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. But because of budgetary reasons, Disney was more focused. To be honest, they were more focused on the Animal Kingdom being constructed. They pushed it back.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, the Animal Kingdom being constructed is a big thing, because Animal Kingdom's one of the best parks, so...
Yeah, it goes to that point where it's like, if we have to spend money on something, that's how it ends up being. They had a lot of projects at the time, so I can understand their reasons for putting projects on hold at the time.
Yes.
So eventually they realized that Hollywood Studios was kind of lacking a major attraction. It had been about 5 years since Tower of Terror opened.
Could say it's still lacking.
Oh.
We can get into that, because that is a problem in itself.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. They decided we need a thrill ride. So the idea of a rock and roll themed roller coaster came to fruition. So they were doing construction on it around February 1998, and obviously it would be based around a certain rock and roll band. But what you might not know, which might make Steven Tyler pissed off when he finds out, where he might already know, is that Aerosmith wasn't the first choice. Disney actually wanted... Yeah, a little bit. But with the bands I'm about to mention they wanted first, kind of makes sense. So the original band they wanted to be front and center was actually the Rolling Stones.
Okay,
oh,
fair enough.
Good.
Which,
fair
again, I don't say they're better than Aerosmith, but it is a bigger name.
Yes, they certainly have more clout.
The rock and rolling coaster?
Yeah, so, you got...
They put you... The vehicle's a giant stone, it's shaped like a stone, and they roll you down the track in it. That was going to be the original plan. I'm sorry, continue.
Well, that's actually very good immersion, to have you actually in that type of attraction. That would make sense. So, they approached Mick Jagger. Jagger was open to the idea, but goes back to budget reasons, because Mick Jagger wanted $10 million a year.
Oh my God!
A year. So, I know there's always been this talk about the idea of Eisner spending too much money or not spending money in the right places. Probably a good idea he didn't decide to spend $10 million a year to have the Rolling Stones.
Just to appease...
$10 million a year just to have a ride with, your face on. Oh, my God.
Hollywood Studios doesn't even make $10 million a year.
Mr. Jagger, would you like a ride? No! I want $10 million! That's my John Mulaney impression. Anyways.
But, I get the reason behind it, it would make sense. But still, at the same time, I'm like, I would never spend $10 million a year on anybody at a theme park. Just it seems like it wouldn't be a smart investment.
Yeah.
So when the Rolling Stones that whole deal fell apart, they actually then went to U2, which
Oh.
Me as well?
Nice.
No, that was
good
stupid.
joke.
But it's this thing where they went to U2 and Bono immediately shut them down, selling it like, we're not going to sell out. Bono's not that type of guy.
Good Bono.
And honestly, like, and this is just my opinion, I don't think like songs from U2 at that time around 1998 would fit into like a roller coaster theme.
No, I think you're probably right.
Yeah. So after U2 said no thanks, they went to Kiss. And Kiss made a lot of sense because they have that persona, the face paint, the music, the whole act they do.
They're very heightened, and then I think that fits with the parks.
And there was that movie, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Theme Park.
Like, it
was already already a thing.
They were already involved with theme parks, unless maybe that's what that turned them off from doing it. They were like, no, we've already been involved with theme parks. Didn't turn out well.
Yeah,
anyways, continue.
So they approach Kiss, and Gene Simmons is open to the idea. But the rumor's always been, and I couldn't confirm it, is that he wanted just as much or even more than what Mick Jagger was asking for at $10 million a year.
Gosh.
But you know what? In '96, Kiss was coming back. They were popular again. Cash in on it while you can.
That's fair. I mean, it's still kind of funny, but
yeah.
I mean, time makes fools of us all.
But can you imagine, like, also, like, as a joke, like, yeah, like, I'm okay with that, but also besides the money, everybody on the attraction who's working it has to have face paint. You gotta have one of the 4 face paints that we have with our guys. That's it. So I can imagine if you were gonna work an attraction like that, you wouldn't want to be there very long.
I'm sure Disney would find some cheap alternative, like a half mask or something that cast members would have to wear with the paint on it or something, or sunglasses, something like that.
Yeah, something where everybody has to dress up. Just everybody has just a mask on. That's it. They don't have to put paint. It's just a plastic cheap mask.
They have to wear all leather outfits in the Florida heat.
Can we sit in the front row?
If they would have to shut down the attraction so many times because the mask would be flying off and hitting people.
Yeah.
So after those 3 kind of struck out, they were getting closer to the opening of the attraction. They had finished most of the building. It was already enclosed. Disney was kind of saying at this point, you know what? We won't have a featured band. Instead, we'll just have it about possibly the history of rock and roll music.
Okay.
And that was going to be one of my rehabs, but yeah.
Well, it's an easy fix to have something based on rock and roll, and then you just cover genres or eras of rock and roll.
Yes.
They would have licensed numerous amounts of, tracks and whatnot. So you're going through, and it might be something from the 50s, 60s, 70s, etc.
Oh, man. That would have been so good.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But Disney lucked out, because at the time, they were Touchstone Pictures, which was owned by Disney. I still think it is, but I don't know if Touchstone is making any more movies for them.
No, I don't think I've seen a Touchstone picture in a long time.
No.
But...
Yeah, they were working on a movie called Armageddon.
Oh, the hit film, yes.
Yes, and so they were working with a band to create a theme song or a main song for it, and that was Aerosmith.
Oh my god, this is so weird. We were like just talking about this because we were making. I was joking about Liv Tyler, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like around the time Steven Tyler like said that he was Liv Tyler's father, and she found out, and then they made the movie Armageddon, and that's why they did the theme song because Liv Tyler was in the movie. And he wanted to, like, make the song for her or something like that.
And then they made fun of that situation in Ugly Betty, the hit series with,
America Ferrera?
America Ferrera,
Yeah.
Thank you, yes. But anyways, we're getting a little off track.
But I'm pretty sure there was some type of nepotism in there, because if you're going to make a song, my daughter got to be the star of the movie, or one of the stars of the movie.
Yes.
So they're working on the hit song, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, I think it is. I don't remember. It's like, I think that's the name of it. It is a good song. So, since they're working with Aerosmith, Disney goes, hey, we already have a working relationship. We have a theme park attraction based on rock and roll. Would you be interested? And Steven Tyler was completely open to it. And they said, let's do it.
Perfect.
And that's kind of how it became Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. You know, they weren't the first choice, but they were still a good choice, according to Disney.
They were still a good choice, yeah.
Yeah,
They probably didn't ask for $10 million a year.
No, as much as Kiss and Rolling Stones have more clout and they're sort of more immediately recognizable, Aerosmith is still one of those large rock and roll contenders. They can carry their weight, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, when you mention like a band like the Rolling Stones, and then you go to like Who and the Kiss, I still consider Aerosmith to be one of those mega bands, but I don't consider them to be on the same tier. They're probably right below that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like the B band.
We're gonna get a message from, I don't know what record label is Aerosmith under? Probably like Warner Bros. Records or something like that.
It's like Disney or something.
Maybe, but listen, they're gonna come after us for defaming.
I'm sorry if you're gonna have more people coming after you now for those statements we just made.
Oh yeah, we've angered Disney and a recording label now,
and rock and roll fans.
Yep.
But, I think they'll understand. We're not saying that Aerosmith's bad. We're just saying that if you have to pick between the two, like which one, the Rolling Stones or Aerosmith, I want to say people won't. Like, I would lean towards the Rolling Stones. That's just my preference.
Well, these days I don't know, because I don't know how many of them are still alive. So
that's true. That's true. And again, with the way music changes, you never know who. Like, people won't know who the Rolling Stones are.
It's true.
Yeah, Aerosmith. Didn't they have a Guitar Hero game? That's what people probably might remember.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a whole themed game specific. It wasn't like DLC. It was a individually packaged game.
And then the Beatles got that as well. But the Beatles are the Beatles.
That was with Rock Band,
yeah. But that's right. Beatles were Rock Band, not Guitar Hero.
But the irony is that I knew people in high school were like, oh man, I really like the Beatles because I play all their songs now from Rock Band. They had no idea who they were before the game. They had an idea what the Beatles were, but then when they started to play the songs and learn them, then they actually became fans of the Beatles. So I guess it worked out. Something like that.
Yeah,
something like
that. Some people don't know who the Beatles are. It's good that we have a video game out there to explain.
It's good we have a video game from 2001 to educate people on an outdated console that no one uses anymore.
Well, that I think that just shows how old I am when I'm making these references right now.
Oh yeah.
But
anyways,
they opened the attraction, and I think the only thing that Steven Tyler requested, nothing crazy, was that they had a brand new album come out around that time, and one of the songs that played throughout the attraction, I don't know the title off the top of my head, would be one of the featured songs. It was kind of just like the synergy, like, hey, listen, we'll be part of it, we have no problem, but we're also trying to push our own brand new album. So can you make this one of those tracks that guests can listen to when they're actually on the attraction? I think that's a fair trade.
Yeah, and it's certainly less to demand of them than $10 million a year or more.
Yes, it didn't hurt Disney's bank. It didn't hurt their pockets making that type of deal.
Nowadays, nothing can. But
but I think that's basically the gist up to when it opened. I'm not going to get into any further because I don't really think there's much besides that. But we might discuss something later on about the changes to the attraction.
Sure. Well, I guess now is the part where we do our namesake and we rehab it. Tyler, would you like to start?
Oh, okay. So you were talking about so many bands. None of my rehabs included switching the band out. I did think, who is Aerosmith? Like, you walk in and the whole theme is that it's G-Force Records, but you're never really given a clear explanation who Aerosmith is. You just sort of walk in and there's this band there, and I guess you're supposed to know who Aerosmith is before going on to the ride. I mean, because you have the pre-show where they show up, but there's no point up before the pre-show where you are told, oh, by the way, here's Aerosmith. And I, like you said, maybe there's the music playing in the background. I never horribly noticed it. Maybe because I was on my phone like an asshole. But yeah, I don't get a good feel for who Aerosmith is. So I was thinking that the queue should be more of like a rock and roll museum, where maybe we have like a bunch of stuff from Aerosmith. Because right now it's just like, look at all these fake things that G-Force Records has. And like, how many people are probably gonna be like, oh yeah, GeForce Records, that's real, isn't it? Like,
Let me
people
Google
don't.
it.
Yeah, like, I don't think people know that that's just like. Do people know G-force is a thing on a roller coaster?
I would assume that some people do. I'm not going to pretend that I know the general populace of the Florida region, but I'm going to assume that the answer is no. And but go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no. You know what I think of when you say G-force, and this is another Disney reference.
Oh no!
Is it the?
Yeah,
the
I
movie?
think you know
Yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
going. That animated hamster movie.
That's right.
Oh no!
That's what I think of.
Which they also made a video game out of, but I
But
don't know.
when you say G-force, that's the first thing that comes to my head. I understand why they went with G-force because the roller coaster does go up to 5 Gs.
Yes,
so
exactly.
it kind of makes sense. But again, I think they were banking on the fact that anybody who's going there, you know who Aerosmith is, right? Come on, you gotta know who Aerosmith
Yeah,
is.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
And when it was made, they were probably still a household name. I don't know if that's still true. They might still be a household name. They might not be. But that's it. My train of thought left the station before I could complete it.
But
Speak-
it's one of those things though, like it's the branding. And it, for like Disney, that's a little bit of a weird thing. Not really now because they're kind of banking on IPs. But
Yeah.
back in 1999, like the Twilight Zone, people knew what it was, but they give you a rehash in the queue. Like you mentioned, you go through that whole queue. It's kind of a generic, bland setting, and I guess they're just expecting people. If you don't know who Aerosmith is, you'll find out by the end of the attraction. They're a pretty popular rock band.
Yes, they're a popular American rock band, and that's all you really need to know. Because ultimately, this is a roller coaster, and the thrill is not knowing who Aerosmith is or seeing them in a bad green screen effect. It's getting on a roller coaster and feeling like you're about to die because the speeds are intense. But anyways, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Thrills minus death equals a roller coaster, or whatever that phrase is.
It's fear minus death equals thrill.
Okay.
That makes sense.
sense.
I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
checks out if you do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just carry the
We
E.
we had the same equation, different ways of getting, or the same solution, different ways of getting there.
Listen, as long as you can show your work, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We got a little bit away from
Yeah.
the rehab.
In terms of the actual ride itself, I actually kind of like the sort of concept, which is, oh, we were going to perform for you, but we have to go, but let's get you the biggest stretch limo, and then that's what the ride vehicle is. I like that. I always question, like, why are we getting on this ride vehicle? And I remember when we went on Transformers 4D, it was like, oh yeah, your vehicle is a Transformer. And I'm like, sweet, that's a loose enough premise I can get on board with. And this one is a stretch limo. I like it. I like that idea. I think it's really cute, actually.
I like how we just happened to wander into this record label company. And Aerosmith sees us and is like, "Guess what? You're VIPs now. We're gonna give you our limo because reasons, but I don't remember."
All that money they're getting from Disney, they're like, we could spend it. Why not?
We can spend it. Why not? These 18 strange. I don't know how many people fit in that
sounds about
vehicle. These 18 strangers. We're gonna give them a limo.
Yeah, but you mentioned like that whole idea of having the ride vehicle themed to the attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a sucker for immersion. If you do a very good job in an attraction like that, it draws you in. So it fits the mold. You're in a limo, you're going to another show. Even the whole queue area where you're lining up waiting to get into the limo itself. You hear the noises of traffic, you see the tunnel. It's like a cage fence area that leads you in. It's it's different compared to some of the older attractions that are at the park.
Yes.
You mean in that, like, the actual loading area has a pretty cohesive theming?
Yeah,
around it. Yeah.
That you go from literally being inside the studio to going to like the back alleys to get into the limo where it is. Back alley's probably not the best word. There's probably a better
But
word.
that is what it is.
That's what it is. That's what I was going to say.
It kind of makes the whole thing that we're talking about a little bit skeptical. Hey, come on!
Yeah.
I got tickets to a free show. Just go to the back alley into this random limo. Don't worry about where it's going. It's going to get you there.
Hey, I got tickets to the new Aerosmith. Just come into this back alley and we'll get you a big stretch limo and we'll get you there.
I think they say in the queue, like, yeah, we'll get you a car. It'll be in the alley next door.
There's an idea for the queue. We need to have scalpers out there waving tickets around, being like,
"Get your fast pass here!"
well, get Aerosmith tickets here, $50. $50 for Aerosmith tickets.
If you're not interested in the Rock and Roller Coaster, I definitely can help you out with Galaxy's Edge. Don't worry, you ain't gonna have to wait 4 hours getting there.
There you go. Scalper.
We already have tickets. That's why we're here.
They have like an area that's like painted lines down that says designated scalping zone. All right, we got away from the rehab here a bit. Tyler, let's get back to your rehab.
Sorry, you're talking about immersion. I just want to tell a really quick story that I don't think I told. Last time
I don't think there are any quick stories with you.
Last time I was on Rock and Roller Coaster, in the queue, sometimes a cast member will not yell out, "Hey, Steven, how about a backstage pass?" So I went up to the cast member and I said, "Hey, you know the thing where you ask for a backstage pass? Can I be the one who does it?" And the cast member said, "Sure, we can do that." And I went, "Cool." And then I went, "We could do that? That doesn't sound like a sentence you'd say back to the question I asked." Mm-hmm. And then when it came around to yelling it out, I was like, "Oh, sweet, I'm going to get to yell it out." And then the cast member just yelled it out instead. And I'm like, looked at them, I'm like,
Didn't we
I
not
asked
have this
you if I could do it. But I think they assumed that I was asking if they could do it, because normally they wouldn't do it.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Just like, hey, listen, make sure you're doing the only line and the only job you have while you're in here, okay?
Yeah. Can you make sure to follow the rules of being the queue operator?
Well,
because imagine it's your first time and he doesn't do it, and he goes, and everyone in the room's like, wait, what's going on? How did we get tickets? Why is Steven like being so nice to us? How? I don't know him.
Steven just looks out into the crowd, and then there's a brief moment of silence, and he goes, "That's a great idea." And everyone's like, "What?" Because that's what would happen if the cast member didn't say it. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, in terms of just generally fixing the ride, I just want dimensional show sets.
You're talking about
they're like cardboard cutouts that light up, and I get it's such a small sort of footprint that all these show sets are probably right next to each other, and certain ones are just lit up at a certain time. But I would really like it if the rest of the building was, themed a little bit more on the interior. I mean,
yeah, I think that goes back to the fact that on the track itself. I think that goes back to the fact that they didn't have anything really planned until the last minute.
Oh yeah.
So they didn't want to really start.
Wait. Are you telling me Disney did something last minute and rushed?
It's an amazing. I can't believe it ever happened, right?
Yeah. What a
so unlike
plot
them.
Twist.
But I feel like that I can't confirm it, but it's like a good theory that, hey, they were still trying to figure out what the theming or what bands are going to be. So once they did that, and they were like 6 months out, probably 6 to 8 months, they were like, we can't start building elaborate sets now. So let's just cardboard. It's cheap enough to put some flashing lights. People are going to go way too fast anyway to pay attention.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Where it moves quickly, so you don't see the sets for very long. And, I don't know. It gives you the barest hint of where you are and what you're doing. So it's basically enough.
Yeah, I think, and I haven't really seen it. I think the Paris version had better elaborate sets, but that's because it opened 3 years later.
It certainly does, based on what I've seen. Yeah.
Is the Paris version also Aerosmith?
Yes.
Well,
okay.
it was Aerosmith. It's not anymore.
Okay.
That's a problem itself. But I remember it being like they had actually like the lighting rigs and all that type of stuff. So it felt a little bit more real than just versus like seeing that cheap Hollywood sign and all the other stuff that you see in the Florida version.
I didn't have any ideas. But as we mentioned swapping bands out, a horrible idea came to my mind. And I thought, what happens when they rehab it with a current musical fad, some performer who people like now? And I couldn't think of anyone, because I don't know what I don't know what the kids like these days, because that's not my scene. But then I just started thinking about various bands that might fit this. And I thought, what other bands could do... I just started picturing all these different bands that Disney, because it's a business. That Disney, it's almost like a comedy bit in my head, where Disney goes to all these different bands of varying levels of fame to try and get them to be part of their roller coaster. So, I don't know, you could go with, I don't know, Rush, Nickelback.
Oh,
Like that. Could you imagine the Nickelback?
Photograph. Just keep playing Photograph over and over again.
Look at this ride.
Look at this ride. What other bands could there be? I think it's hilarious. When you said U2, I thought that was funny because I was like, I'm just picturing like the soft, or not the soft, but like the slow U2 songs, and then I was like, Coldplay? What's after that? Like, could you imagine like the I don't know, the early
I feel like Coldplay could make an interesting song. Like if you said,
but
make an original song for this roller coaster.
But that's not their style, though. Like an action-packed, fast-paced song isn't really their style. They're all about like, I don't know, the slow orchestral. Yeah, I guess orchestral.
I think they're the only song that might fit would be Viva La Vida.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
That's the only one, that's their fastest paced song that I can recall.
And that like starts off with like violins. But
how about
do you know who'd be
Smith?
cool? Sam Smith, the guy the only gay Sam Smith. The only band that I would like, although this would cement them as sellouts, would be Green Day. I would probably go on Rocking Roller Coaster if it was a Green Day themed one. Because, well, I guess that would hurt the Disney image, though.
I used to play Roller Coaster Tycoon a lot, and we have this ride called the Italian Job that became just the back.
Sorry. The Italian Job is a roller coaster at Canada's Wonderland, which is right near us, theme park. But anyways,
but I built it in Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then I put Green Day music over it, and I called it the Rockin' Italian Job starring Green Day.
Nice.
Because I'm a fool. Anyways.
That's what we need now. That's the
to
rehab.
dream big.
We did it.
You gotta dream big, though.
Yeah.
Because you never know, that idea might become something down the line.
I just like the idea of indoctrinating children into punk rock music as early as possible, so that way they'll become rebellious young teenagers, and then they'll become rebellious young people, and then maybe we'll actually be able to instill change in our world. But anyways, that's a bit of Tom's rambling.
How about Pink Floyd?
Pink Floyd?
Have you seen The Wall? Could you imagine if that was a ride?
That wouldn't be a bad idea. It would
psychedelic trip.
It would definitely be a psychedelic and terrifying trip at the same time. It would actually feel like you're on drugs.
You can buy LSD at the gift shop afterwards. They card you like at the Epcot Food and Wine Fest, where they're like, we need a picture of your ID and your passport. But Disney's got a special license where they can sell people LSD or shrooms or whatever psychedelic you want. But
you're giving them ideas. If that ever happens, know they're gonna Mickey Mouse shaped LSD. It probably. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It probably already exists somewhere in some market, but now the House of Mouse can make some money off of it.
Finally, the House of Mouse is back and it's selling LSD.
I'm just going to throw
when Disney becomes the powerful mega corporation in charge of the corpocracy, like it's going to be. They're going to sell us like 3D printed LSD or whatever.
I'm going to throw in a band that I love that I think would be really cool to see. Oh my god,
the Sex Pistols. I should have said the Sex Pistols, not Green Day. I mean, the Sex Pistols aren't sellouts, but their music's much harder than Green Day, and so it would corrupt children faster. But anyways, go on.
Mine was Muse.
Muse? Oh. Muse has got good music.
Muse has really sick, crazy, driving, like, drum beats.
That's true.
And also their concerts just have, like, the most amazing visuals to them.
Oh, yeah, that's also true, I guess. They're all about the performance aspects of it.
And throwing that into show building, or even just, like, oh, man, imagine, like, walking out into the alley and it's just, like... It's like post-apocalyptic, and this is like the last vehicle on Earth or something kind of thing. That sounds like something Muse would do, right?
Some vague plot line, like a music video, that's not really fleshed out, but it's there for the visuals.
But you know what? That actually, as far as the attraction goes, that actually would work. You know, even though
absolutely,
even though you might be asking yourself, what type of music video was that? What did I just watch?
Yeah.
You were part of it, though, and you had a good time, didn't you?
Yeah, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Jack, what band would you like to throw in there?
Yeah.
You know, you were mentioning a bunch of it, and I do agree with you, where it's like, the change in music today, it's very hard to say, is there like a mega rock band out there that would fit the mold? And I can't think of anybody. But the one I do think of is the Foo Fighters.
Okay.
I think some of their songs would work. I think it would be an interesting take. I don't know what you really could do to change it up, but it's like, hey, you want to go from one rock band to the next. I think that would be the safest and most logical, change.
Yes.
To go. But again, I can't think of anything. And Disney, if they were to do something, they'd probably do something that nobody would be a fan of. Like, hey, you know what? Now we get a bunch of our own Disney, performers part of it. So you get to see the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
I don't even know who else was signed to Disney back in the day, but I knew
Hannah Montana. She's back for Rock and Roller Coaster.
And I have done both Jonas Brothers and Miley Cyrus in Roller Coaster Tycoon for Rock and Roller Coaster. Anyways.
Well, there you go.
War the worst case
It's
scenario.
It's already been made.
Yeah, the worst case scenario I can think of is that, you know what, we're just going to set it to the soundtrack of High School Musical.
Oh,
That's
High
good
School
luck.
Musical, the show, the series, the ride.
they did it.
Synergy, baby.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel. I don't know. People like High School Musical, I guess. But I don't know if it would...
You know what else I did?
What did you do?
Do you know what I did in Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Please
I
tell
themed it
us.
to Camp Rock.
Someone from Port Dover was in Camp Rock. She's one of the screaming people in the at the end of the movie concert or whatever happens in that
cool.
movie. I never saw it and I never saw her.
My
But
cousin was in Camp Rock.
oh, that's cool. I guess who wasn't in Camp Rock? Let's be honest. I was in Camp Rock when I was but a babe. Anyways, I don't remember where we were going with this. I'm trying to moderate this, but
He said
We
Foo
were-
Fighters.
Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters, yeah.
Foo Fighters.
But,
Well, that's,
again-
they're a good classic rock band. So
Yeah, because, again, the music taste I have in rock now, the Black Keys, it wouldn't work. I don't think
No.
those guys would do anything, and I can't really think of any other type of rock band like that. So I figure it would be something like 21 Pilots, maybe, that type of music. And I'm not judging.
no.
Not judging.
I will.
That's fine. It's your show. You can do what you want. But it ends up being I'm talking about that type of music would probably
Yes.
be the most logical thing that I can
The
see
young
Disney
people music.
Yeah, whatever they're into, whether it's good
Yeah.
or not.
Who's that
Yes.
band with the old-timey instruments? Arcade Fire.
Oh yeah, the Canadian band who won the Grammys and everyone got upset about it.
What did
They
that?
they won best album of the year or something, and I just remember everyone at my high school was upset about that because
that sounds about right.
they were like, oh, they're not very good. They're not. Anyways.
Oh, Fall Out Boy.
Oh yeah, Fall Out, and they're big sellouts now, so they'll absolutely do it.
They did music for Big Hero 6.
And they did music for Batman, and they did music
Batman.
the Lego Batman,
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
and
Ghostbusters.
and Ghostbusters,
Oh, yeah,
which
they're already sellouts. There you go.
yeah, exactly. They're already sellouts. They'll do it. Panic at the Disco's.
I was
They're
about to
getting
say
there.
Panic.
They're getting there, but I don't know. I mean, I guess Brandon Urie's got a strong personality they can sell it on. And
Yeah,
I
they
think the kids still like Panic at the Disco. The music of that band changes to adapt to the times, so it could still be relevant.
Could the coaster work if it wasn't rock and roll?
Yes.
Could it be the New Wave coaster featuring the B-52s?
I don't know
I'd
what
go
type
on
of
that.
I don't know what type of demographic you're reaching out to. I don't think that's teenagers. That's definitely
Yeah.
the older crowd. And the problem is if they go on it, they might not be getting off. I don't take that the wrong way, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
They're like, oh, this is going to be a fun roller coaster. No, this might be your last roller coaster. But
We were on a coaster.
Well,
But it wouldn't be
Everybody
I've
died.
thought about that
Magic,
too,
magic
where it's
bags.
what if you were to change the brand entirely from rock and roll?
thing is that it is technically a generic coaster with a rock and roll theme put over it, or at least I assume it is.
Yeah, but it's again I don't know. You can't change it to some hip hop. I don't know. I don't
mean,
know what's the
could.
appeal of that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. We don't know what the demographic numbers are, and also I don't know how it works with rides. Does Disney get 5 cents every time someone rides on one of their rides, or do they just want to generate more interest in the parks with the changing of rides and so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's a weird situation because I do agree with you where it's like you're not worried about the story and theming that much because it's a roller coaster. You're not paying attention to that. It's not like Tower of Terror where there's a whole story that plays out throughout the entire attraction. This is like you get a pre-show and that's it. You get on the ride and then whatever happens at the end, that's how it wraps up.
Yeah.
You can't pay attention, you can't see what's going on. You're holding on for your dear life and that's how it goes. But I would say to take that concept that we all talked about, different brands, and I hate to say it, but you take a page out of Universal's playbook and do something like Hollywood Rip Ride and Rocket and let the guests choose what type of music they want to listen to when they're on the coaster.
I mean, yeah, that's...
It's the safest way to change it without completely having to spend a lot of money.
Yes, and you get that fake immersion of people getting to choose things.
Yeah, and then you can go like basically, okay, I know what I like, so if there's something that's available that's close to my tastes, there you go, I can pick it, and then the attraction plays out that way. It's still the same for everybody, but a little bit of a different, it switches a little bit different to your taste, not just if you like Aerosmith or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can picture that, but I pictured like the worst case scenario where it's just Disney branded music. It's like, here's the Jonas Brothers, here's Hannah Montana, here's, I don't know what else Disney has done.
Randy Newman,
there you go.
Welcome to a ride. Do you like Toy Story? Well, actually, may I segue into... So that's just a general rehab. That's the kind of thing Disney would do, overlaying or touching up.
Yeah.
We go a little bit ridiculous.
Yes.
So, if I could gut this entire attraction, but keep like the show building, but retheme mostly everything. Speaking of Randy Newman, I would retheme this to a Monsters, Inc. themed attraction. And this is like a thing that people like, it's already a rumor just because the show building is so tall that it could be the Door Factory. And I was thinking about this quite a bit. If I could actually like gut the ride system, I'd replace it with a suspended version of the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which is like their show kind of coaster, or they're calling it, where the vehicles turn. And so you can have like some kind of loose premise where you're like, oh yeah, well, you're going to go in the Door Factory. It could be themed to the new Disney Plus show, Monsters at Work, because synergy. and you're just taking a tour of the Door Factory and then something terrible happens like every ride. But that whole show building, you could build really cool, intricate, almost like a forced perspective miniature of all these doors zooming around and stuff, and then maybe you enter some and the coaster, because it's suspended like on the rail, it's like you're feeling like you're one of the doors flying around. And then the exterior of the building you can actually theme to the way it looks in the movie, which is like this big sort of an octagon, not octagon, rhombus. What's the shape like this?
I don't remember.
It's like a
trapezoid?
No, it's I think it's a rhombus. A big tall building that you can see from a distance, because you can see that from a bit of a distance. So why not make that Monsters Inc. And then to complete it, this is the genius part. I'm going to blow your minds. You already have a theater next door hosting what is currently a terrible Cars-themed attraction. That's where you put the laugh floor. Mic drop.
Oh my god. You put the Monsters Inc. things together.
Yeah, you
take
create a cohesive theme for your little area.
Tyler, that sounds like it would cost a lot of money.
I know, that's why it's ridiculous.
That's fair, I guess.
That's what the premise of our show.
Fair. I forgot that's the premise of our show. You're right.
But you know what? It goes back to that whole idea where you want to draw people in, and Disney's so involved now in using their IPs. Mm-hmm. You finally get the attraction that many people who like Monsters, Inc., including myself, want. We don't want a laugh show. We don't want any of the Superstar Limo re-themes. We want an actual attraction where you're going through the factory with all those doors, because that was probably the best part of the first movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you say Superstar Limo?
Yeah, because
when
they
Superstar Limo, they rethemed it to Monsters Inc. Even I know that, and I'm a dummy when it comes to these things.
No, I was just like, did somebody bring up Superstar Limo? I was going to say this.
You were just shocked to hear the name.
Superstar Limo.
You heard
somebody
Superstar
has
Limo,
the
and you're
bingo
like,
card.
Do people know that exists?
If somebody has the bingo card with Superstar Limo for this episode, I think they have a
the
very good chance of winning right now.
Rehab bingo card. When they go off topic,
And then they talk about Superstar
they
Limo.
talk about Superstar Limo. Well, I think we've been delaying it for a long time because obviously Monsters Inc. isn't a currently ongoing IP. I think, I don't know. There might be another Monsters
Well, they're
movie
making
in
a new
development.
show.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, that's what I said. Monsters
at Work. That's right.
Going to be
You're
the
right.
Disney Plus show.
Disney Plus. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That's the start of it. That's the start of the Disney corpocracy. But let's get to what has become our staple, which is how are we going to shove a Marvel or a Star Wars property into this? Now, Star Wars is easy because a lot of Star Wars is about getting into a vehicle and going around at high speeds while things blast at you. So they already have that as like I don't know, what do you call it? A good framework. You could literally just get into like, this is our new Sky Speeder. I don't think a Sky Speeder would be a thing, but this is our new TF-41-3 spaceship designed to carry lots of people. Here's some rebel plans or whatever the MacGuffin is. Go, get on the roller coaster now, and they play the Star Wars music. And then I guess we could get some cool like visual effects of like TIE fighters flying at you and shooting at you as you zip by them on the roller coaster, and it'll give you the frenetic speed of a space battle. But I feel like it would still be soulless. Like, that's how I picture it in my head.
Didn't they do a Star Wars overlay for like Galactic Weekends or whatever the heck it's called?
I was
Maybe
gonna say you kind of predicted what already happened.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
They did something a specific weekend, and I think they turned all the lights off, and they just had the Star Wars theme playing throughout the entire attraction.
Nice. Cheaper.
So-
That was better than what I thought.
battle scene,
It
were
involved less.
The dun 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 dun. Wasn't it that music?
I
it was
think
that music.
I think
Probably.
it started with the theme before you launch, and then it went right into that.
That sounds about right.
I guess
That's
there's never been a Star Wars ride that really... I mean, there's never been a Star Wars ride. Never mind.
Were you about to say there's never been a Star Wars ride where you get attacked by TIE fighters? Or
There's never been one that really simulates the high-speed pursuit you'd get in a space battle.
Yes. I mean, we have Star Tours, but Star Tours is a little tame because it's a motion simulator. But yeah, you don't get like the getting whipped around that you would expect from like a ship or something.
Yeah, the closest thing probably be Hyperspace Mountain, and I don't even think the Magic Kingdom doesn't do it. But again, it's already an existing attraction that's not the same like what you're mentioning, which is like the loops, the inversions, the high speeds. You don't get that.
Yeah, it's just Space Mountain still.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've always thought like if you were somehow able to enclose those ride vehicles, you can just say it's like the Millennium Falcon. And
Yeah.
you're doing the parsecs and everything like that, hitting those top speeds.
I just picture the ride vehicle being like somebody in Photoshop, they took an image of the Millennium Falcon and they did one of those like weird stretchy things where just the middle of the Falcon is very wide, but the front and back look normal. And that's what the new train for the Rock and Roller Coaster looks like.
Perfect.
It's just a very long,
It's a long
tiny
Millennium Falcon.
That's it. Don't worry that there's 20 seats in the cockpit. Just get in.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about it, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the consistency. Just get in the ride. Well, I guess Star Wars, we did that, and I guess it's already been done. So no point in having it.
I
but-
was gonna say Death Star Assault.
Oh, that could be
you're
fun.
You're in some kind of new.
You're in
ride vehicle,
the
and
XX wing where it's so long that it needs 2 X's for the wings, then you're flying around.
At the end of the ride, where you go into like the brake run, that's straight. That's where you launch the missile into the
core of the Death
core,
Star and
yeah.
blow it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
that could be
pretty
good.
cool. Yeah,
Return of
that'd
the
be pretty
Jedi Death Star run. I guess it could also be the Empire, a New Hope Death Star run. But I always
Star
like
Killer Base. If you
oh yeah, Star Killer Base could also be it if you want to do the new IPs. But I don't think they're as popular. I think if we learned anything from the Last Jedi, it's that they're not as popular as the original franchise.
Yeah.
So, I don't remember where my brain was going now.
I was thinking
yeah.
Marvel, and I'm like, what character in Marvel goes very fast? And then I thought a Quicksilver X-Men type attraction.
No. Oh, they bought Fox. Never mind. They can do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they also had Quicksilver, who was definitely not a mutant. They had to make that very clear in the movie that he was not a mutant for legal reasons. He's a legally distinct not mutant. And his sister, they had experiments done on them or whatever. But I mean, are you riding Quicksilver in that? Like,
maybe he's like pushing your vehicle.
Get on my back, and then or if you say he's pushing, I just picture like I picture like you know how I just picture like a mold of him on the whole like on the back, and he's like in a running pose, and it just moves. Not even an animatronic, just like one of those, like I don't know, like one of those mall like rides.
Oh yeah,
where it's just like a bad mold of the character.
Well, it could be like Mission Breakout, where like Rocket says, "Oh, I'm on top of your elevator," and then it's like you don't really see him up there. But like,
that's true.
You could just hear Quicksilver laugh. I'm right behind you.
I'm underneath your vehicle. Don't worry, I'm holding it up.
I'm pushing from the back. Don't worry. Don't look behind you. You can't look behind you. You'll snap your neck.
That's true. What other characters?
We did go to Twitter and ask somebody for suggestions, and Galactic Hero Pilot of the Millennium Falcon says, make it themed to the quantum realm. The launch could be made to resemble the quantum tunnel machine. The building could easily be themed to a PIM research facility, and the ride themed to just traveling through the colorful quantum realm.
I mean, that could be it. And all you need is some like circle shapes and maybe some like amoeba things, and then you just shine different colors on them, and it works. That could work.
And then the end of the attraction ends with a rat getting you off the ride.
Exactly. Yeah. A pure coincidence allowing you to escape from the thing that happened.
And then he says, "Come on my ride at Epcot." Synergy.
It's Remy. Remy saved Scott Lang from the quantum realm.
In terms of other bands, Jack-O-Lantern B Graphic on Twitter says, Rock and Roller Coaster starring Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem from the Muppets.
No.
No, my God.
That would be great, but they would never let the Muppets get another thing. They're already trying to kill him. They're already trying to get rid of him. They're not profitable anymore. Jim Henson's been dead for too long.
God.
Sorry.
Just imagine Animal's the one who's controlling the limo.
That would be great.
Out of control.
That would be like a... don't worry.
Okay,
don't worry. Animal will get you there in time.
Let's run with this for a second. So the outside would be like the Muppet Studios, right? Or like the Muppet, like,
it doesn't have to be. It could be like...
It could still be a recording studio.
I was going to say, is there a record company in any of the Muppet movies?
No, I don't think anyone has picked up.
Is there a big nebulous corporation in the Muppets franchise that like tries to own the Muppets or something like that?
Wasn't that the plot of the Muppets movie?
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah,
that's
not
that's right.
Wanted.
Yeah, there's oil underneath the old Muppets theater or something like that. Yeah.
Animals driving the ride. It's like I guess you could be like, oh, we gotta get to our gig. Animal, quick, help them.
I feel like
ride.
Do you know what happens? They're hanging out in their recording studio doing something, and then they get a call from like Kermit or something, who's like, "Guys, you're supposed to be on," or something like that. Or
we gotta get there fast.
Exactly. And then they're like, I know, let's let Animal drive, and the whole band like gasps or something. And I think there's a lot of potential with the Muppets there.
Yeah.
But as we know, the Muppets are going to be buried next to Jim Henson soon. They're going to be sent to the upstate farms where all the retired Disney IPs go. And definitely not to a landfill.
Well, I guess that's now called Disney Plus, right?
Hey-o!
I got one.
There's
there
jokes in this episode.
You got one. That was your one good joke of the show.
If I gotta have it, that was it.
All right. Well, I guess we're done now. I'm kidding. So we talked about Quicksilver, and I was thinking, what's another character that just runs really fast? And then I thought, why doesn't this become the Incredicoaster?
No. Don't.
No, but you could properly theme it. You have an indoor queue, and then you actually have an enclosed show building where you can put your video screens or your floating babies or whatever. Because Jack's just like on a stick and he's like floating at one point when you go up and down over the Toy Story Mania ride. Anyways, I'm just saying that if you're ever going to do an enclosed version of a ride, like it should be properly done, not a loose Pixar Pier garbage that you currently have. Why not use this launch and make this the Incredicoaster, but just better?
I mean, I guess you could.
It would. I guess it would work because you can say that you're going fast now and you're all the incredible superheroes and everything like that. But I just hate the Incredicoaster so much that I don't want to see it anywhere else.
It's fascinating.
You just want it gone? The Incredicoaster?
Yeah.
It's always going to be California Screaming to me. That's just how it is.
Fair enough.
We're planning on going to California soon, and I'm just gonna put on the California Screaming soundtrack when I go on that ride, because that's all I'm gonna care about. I don't care about, as much as I like Michael Giacchino. Email us, Michael Giacchino.
He's not going to.
He's never.
We've already sullied our reputation. If we work with certain unscrupulous sources.
That's true.
Anyways. Disney's going to be like, if you even talk to these guys, we'll cancel all your contracts. You'll never write music for us again.
Yeah, I think that could be a much better Incredicoaster.
Fair enough.
Not that you can make an Incredibles themed area. Can we talk about the weird dead end that this ride has created, where you have to walk in and out of this area with the purpose of going on Rock and Roller Coaster?
I don't think it was ever part of the plan, to be honest. I know they kept a plot of land for the roller coaster when they decided to build Sunset Boulevard, but it's weird because it's a dead end and you can't go anywhere else. It's like the same thing like the Fantasmic show. Like, if you look at the map, it's not on the map. It's like an arrow pointing down, and then they have a little circle inlet that shows you the actual stage where it takes place.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Just Hollywood studios in general, their whole layout, it's confusing as hell.
It almost feels like they had the idea, and then they were like, let's just build on it. And it's like a Lego brick tower or something that they've made, and it's just whatever mismatched Lego pieces they have, they're just building on it and trying to make it all fit, but then it becomes a confusing network of paths and things that don't lead anywhere. And
yeah, because it's not even like a circle or anything like that. It's a diagonal.
Yeah.
You got to go to the left to get to some stuff, and then you got to cross all the way back down to get to where Sunset Boulevard is. I mean, to me, whenever I have gone there, it's the most frustrating thing because you hit traffic no matter where you go.
Yes.
Especially in that area. And then they opened up Sunset Showcase for your Lightning McQueen's Awful Show Academy, and that creates an even bigger dead end. You have to walk through the Rock and Roller Coaster area just to get to that Cars themed area.
The annoying disease that is Cars is going to spread, and that's what Rock and Roller Coaster is going to turn into.
Oh my god!
Cars go fast.
You're right.
Cars go fast,
oh god,
and it's going to be
so
a racetrack
right.
one. You see, I had like a little vision there, and I was like, oh my god, that's what's going to happen. I guess Cars. Here's the thing:
Cars don't go up on in a loop and over the wall.
No, but it's a roller coaster, and people are going to forgive that. And the thing is that Cars is going to be a franchise that's going to be forever marketable, because it doesn't matter how long it's been since they've made the movies. Kids like playing with cars. That's the simple fact of the matter. The car is a staple of the American toy, and I guess just toys in general now. So there's never going to be a point where Cars is not marketable.
You guys know what kind of car does go through loops and drive on the walls and stuff?
A stretch limo?
No. Speed Racer.
Oh! No. That would be fun.
I was expecting a bigger reaction from everybody.
No.
Okay.
I like Speed Racer, but I don't think anybody remembers what Speed Racer is. You might
that's-
remember the
that's
terrible...
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, the Warner Brothers movie, which I don't hate, but it did so bad at the box office, and that's why you haven't heard of Speed Racer since.
Yes.
The finale of that movie is amazing. I might actually put on that Speed Racer soundtrack next time I go on there.
On the rock
and you know
roller
who
coaster?
made the Speed Racer soundtrack?
Michael Giacchino.
Anyways, no, a Hot Wheels type attraction might be interesting.
That's a good marketing deal for Disney. They're like, hey, Hot Wheels, you haven't been relevant in a long time. How would you like to renew that relevance with a sweet deal with us? Beyond just selling, I don't know, repainted cars themed to our characters, you can now have an entire ride in our section. And then in the queue, not in the queue, in the gift shop, you have a build your own Hot Wheels thing.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
And then the ride's just Hot Wheels themed. You're in Andy's
I was
house.
about to say they couldn't help but do. Oh, if this was Hot Wheels, it is a Hot Wheel track. But then Andy put like Ham the
We have
Pig
to we have to
on
make
there
it
or
Toy
something.
Story as well. 2 brands.
Hey,
for the
you're riding in my butt. Where we go?
2 brands for the price of 1. They did it.
Okay.
If it never works with Hot Wheels, is Micro Machines still a thing?
I love Micro Machines. You get on the ride and then it go right. I can't even do the guy's voice.
That's super fast.
But that's all you hear throughout the entire track. Is
It's
this
just
guy
him
speaking really
talking
fast.
really
There's no
fast.
music.
He's going through the.
Welcome to the Micro Machines ride. Sit back and I can't even talk that. Oh my gosh.
He's just saying like the legal documents that you've unknowingly signed as you've entered the park. And
I got hurt on your attraction. Well, he told you what was going
yeah,
on.
he
You
told
just
you.
couldn't hear it. You weren't paying attention.
You just need to listen.
Jack, how would you shove Marvel, Star Wars, or some other awful IP into this ride?
I've always wanted it. I guess it's the only way to get it. It doesn't really fit, but I want a pod racing attraction.
Oh yeah.
You know
And I
what?
know
That's
I
not
know
bad.
I know it's not the same thing as it would be, but like I just want something pod racing, and I guess you could kind of do that. I know pod racers don't do loops and whatnot, but they could figure it out. It's Star Wars; people won't care.
That's the thing. The moment you say Star Wars, you've already at least made like $10.
And everybody like me can go. Now this is pod racing.
Exactly.
Just get in on it.
Out of the things from the prequels, pod racing was one of the few things that was actually kind of good. It didn't make
Cool.
It was it was kind of cool, but it was also it was different. And there was a noise in our apartment just now, and it spooked me.
You mean in the dressing room we're in?
I mean, in the dressing room we're in. Sorry, yes, we're in a dressing room.
Oh,
I heard
man.
a noise. Maybe it was the rat who saved Scott Lang. He heard us talking
Maybe.
about him.
I hope it's not Steven Tyler.
Let's hope not. That would be bad because we've said a lot of mean things about We've said a lot of slightly mean things about Aerosmith, and we've implied that they're not as famous as they used to be.
Wait a minute. We assumed that this place was abandoned.
We assumed due to the
This
layer
could
of
just
dust.
be what his dressing room looks like.
This dust could be cocaine.
Well, that explains why I'm in a good mood today.
Yeah.
It's just floating around the air. We've been inhaling it this whole time. Pod racing!
There was that one. Going back to video games, there was that pod racing video game that was really good.
That was a good video game.
Even I had that, and I
you
was
ever-
a poor child.
Did you ever go on the arcade one?
No,
Like the
I didn't go to arcades. I lived in Port Dover, Ontario.
Oh, right.
There were
I know which one you're
arcades.
talking about, though. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the blue vehicle,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember
You had
that.
2 handles.
Yeah, it was the
to steer.
Anakin pod racing controls. I'm sure that would be
I
a lot of
remember.
fun.
I remember being really bad at that ride.
Maybe I know this is like not the ride we're rehabbing, but like the Tomorrowland Speedway, obviously we're getting rid of that because it's like diesel fueled like go-karts from 1956. But you replace that with like pod racers that are on they'd be on tracks because you can't let guests go crazy, and I guess there's no such thing as anti-gravity yet, so you'd have to. But that could be where that goes. I'm sorry.
What would be the premise for going on a pod racing ride? Are
You're
we,
a pod racer.
But are we racing against like Anakin?
No, you're
Or-
racing against whoever the other pod racers are. I don't know if you know this, but there's a whole onslew of pod racers with names. Onslew? I don't know if that's
Listen,
the
as long as I get to see an animatronic Watto, that's all I want.
that would be great. Hey, you want to join the pod race? Lots of people drop out last minute.
I'm just gonna look up.
Use
pod
your
racing.
fast pass. Come on.
Yeah, the fast pass guests go this way.
Would you guys
And
like to
then,
hear some names of pod racers?
I probably will recognize a bunch of them because I remember. It's like latent memories from the game, but yeah, all I remember is there's Sebulba. Everyone remembers Sebulba because he was the cheater. But in the pod racing game, he was great because you actually could use his cheating powers, and he was the only one who had them. He had the flamethrower on the side of his.
Holy
his
crap!
card.
You remember that?
I remember that. Yeah,
I remember playing it. I guess I never played as him. I always hated playing as him. That's why I never used him.
fair enough.
Here's the thing.
Torpedo.
Knowing that Guardians might replace Tower of Terror, on Sunset, like, that's a very realistic kind of thing that could happen. I always just think that because we have this Iron Man themed rock and roller coaster ride that's sort of already going to be a rehab of an existing rock and roller coaster, that this rock and roller coaster was just going to turn into one of those as well.
Well, the rumor has been, it got leaked a while ago and Disney denied it, that in like 5 years, supposedly in that area, it's supposed to be a brand new roller coaster. I don't think they're going to tear it down. I think it'll get the re-theme. But I feel like that's just such a waste of putting Iron Man in like a 2-minute roller coaster when he has something like the Iron Man experience over in Disney Hong Kong. You know? It's just, that attraction, it's it's a Star Tours ripoff, but it's a little bit better than just putting him in that. But I get the idea. You want Marvel in the parks, there you go. But I feel like everybody would come out with the pitchforks and the torches if Tower of Terror gets turned into Guardians of the Galaxy at Hollywood Studios.
Oh, absolutely.
I somehow doubt that. I feel like, and maybe this is just the perspective I've gained. We as a community who discusses the parks and such, and the sort of community that's built up around wdwnt and that sort of, I don't want to call it the Diz.
We can call it Diz Twitter. Call it what it is.
Diz Twitter, the Dizverse, whatever. I don't think they're the average consumer. I think they're dedicated fans, but I don't think they're the average consumer that Disney markets towards. And yes, they'd come out with the pitchforks and torches, but the average consumer is going to be like, "Oh, Iron Man! I recognize that. What a fun, innovative new ride! Hooray, Iron Man! He's here at last!" And it would be a miserable, it would be like a watershed moment where you're like, "Oh, I feel like an alien on this planet," but. I think that it would be the fans of, I don't know. My brain's not working.
I know what you're talking about. It's the same people who aren't happy with the changes with Epcot. And listen, I'm in that majority where I don't want to see change at the parks for IP-paced, popular things.
Yes.
But I'm so used to that, I'm numb to that because I'm a huge fan of Universal. So they do that like every 5 years, so like we just get used to it.
Yes.
But something like Tower of Terror, it's a classic, it's iconic. I get it. A lot of people were pissed off, but I do agree with you. Now when I look at the comments on the video I did about it, it's more positive. I hated it at first, but I've gone in a couple times, and now I like it.
Yeah.
So there'd be blowback at first, but eventually I think over time heals all wounds, and Disney still makes money either way.
Yes, that's the thing. Time heals all wounds, and Disney makes money. And I guess time makes Disney money as well, I guess. I don't know how much farther we can push this roller coaster.
I think in closing that Rock and Roller Coaster is still it's still a decently entertaining ride.
Yes.
Like especially if you're going for just the thrill of the launch itself and how 0 to I think it was 60 in 3 seconds or something. It's still a good ride. It certainly could use a little touch more, but I'm still going to go on it.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone on it maybe 2 or 3 times because those type of roller coasters don't sit well with me. It's probably, and I guess you might agree with me on it, it's the most intense attraction in Walt Disney World, maybe outside of Mission Space. But the difference is Mission Space, you're in that one thing, and everything takes place on a screen. You feel everything going on, but this, you're sitting there, you feel the launch, you're part of the turns and twists. I feel like it's something that Disney doesn't do enough of. And they really should keep this attraction because if you replace with something a little less intense to cater to that general audience, you're kind of alienating people that are looking for those type of attractions.
Yes. Well, and that's the balance you have to find between people who are seasoned veterans of theme parks and people who are just there for their one vacation every 4 years, who enjoy the softer stuff. Or the tourists from elsewhere who have different views on what the rides are. Because I've heard that in Japan the rides are much tamer than they are in Florida and California.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that because Disney is catered to families.
Yes.
But, that was the problem they ran into in the late 80s, early 90s, where people wanted something that Universal was doing. They wanted a confrontation, a Jaws, a Back to the Future.
Yes.
And he kind of saw that. But now lately it's like they've gone back to, you know what? We could try to do that, but let's just stick to stuff like Smuggler's Run. It's fun. It's as intense as we can go, because if we push the envelope, we're going to lose those families from wanting to come back.
Yes. As that's what it's all about. It's about the family money. The middle America money, I guess.
It's not. You're not lying. It's the truth. It's that, and whatever merchandise they can buy while they're at the parks that you totally don't need.
Yes. Well,
I think if we spend any more time in this dressing room, we're gonna get put to work by this record company.
yeah, or the cocaine, or we'll overdose on this cocaine. Allegedly, it might not be cocaine. It could be any sort of narcotic.
Or Steven Tyler's gonna kick down this door like Mr. X in Resident Evil.
That would certainly be frightening. Not only because he's what, like 87 now.
I don't know. Well, that's it for this episode of Ride Rehab. Thank you for listening. I'm Tyler Mann.
I'm Thomas Kiernan.
And I'm Jack from Theme Park History.
Oh my god, what was
God.
Oh my god.
Is that Tyler?
Oh my god.
All right, guys, it was fun, but I gotta go. I don't want to do this video. Seriously, he's gonna keep me here.
And I don't want to get a. Nope.
Right, flee! We'll protect you! No, Steven! You shall not pass! Thanks for listening to Ride Rehab. No! Mr. Tyler, no!
Loving it and loving it up when I'm going down.